Hey, welcome to Cupcake Day. It's Christmas time. We're maybe a week away. I'm starting to do my bakes for Cake Week, and we have a socially distanced kind of Christmas get-together happening on our street tomorrow. So I'm going to be attempting some miniature cupcakes just as a practice bake for Cake Week. So yeah, let's get started. For my mini cupcakes, my plan is to do kind of one generic base to try to cut my effort. So I am going to create a vanilla bean cupcake cake part, and then I'm going to divide it into three so I can do three different flavors. That's the plan anyway. So one flavor will be kind of pepperminty for the kids, and I'm going to try to top that with a marshmallowy frosting in the shape of like Santa hats. And then I'm going to do one that is just the vanilla bean flavor, but in the center I'm going to put a mulled wine sort of jam and top that with cream cheese frosting. And then the third one, there's a lot of sweets coming. Everybody's bringing tray bakes and brownies and things like that. So I thought maybe it would be better to have something a touch more savory. I'm not even sure if that's achievable in a cupcake, but I'm going to give it a go. So for the third sort of portion of the batter, I am going to try to turn that more into like a spice cake cupcake, and I'm going to put a touch, I'm going to experiment. If it tastes nasty, I'll not do it, but what I'm hoping is I can put a touch of kind of liquid smoke in it, just a wee bit. Fill it with coconut pecan frosting, the stuff that you get in the layers of a German chocolate cake, and then top it with cream cheese frosting as well, and garnish it with candied bacon. So a little bit sweet, a little bit savory. We'll see how that all turns out. So the first thing I'll show you is where I got to with the mulled wine jam, which came out really good. That's like my first successful thing so far. So yeah, let me show you that. These are the ingredients that I used to make the mulled wine jam, and it was really simple. I started off with a cup and a half of port that I reduced to half a cup, and in that, during the reduction, I used 2 bags of the mulled wine spice. I left it overnight because I wanted to try to infuse as much of the mulled wine spices into the port as I could. And then the next day, I added probably another half a cup of port, and then did the fruit and the sugar. So it was about 340 grams of fruit altogether. 120 of it was the cranberries, and the rest were the cherries because they're stoned and they're heavier. And I used cherries in addition to the cranberries because I didn't want it to be tart. Cranberries are very tart, mulled wine is not. So I thought maybe the cherries would lend some color and also just add a different kind of depth to the flavor. Brought it up to the boil, let it simmer for probably about 20 minutes overall. As the cranberries started bursting in the heat, crushed them down with the back of a spoon. Took out the pits, and this is what I've got left. This is the sauce, or the jam. Obviously it's not quite jam because it's fairly loose. And I originally started straining it through a sieve to separate out the skins. And then I realized there's probably a lot of flavor in those, so I think what I'm going to do is make sure that there's no stones left in here. Because what I did was I put the skins back in it after I'd separated everything. And I'm going to put it through the blitzer just to get that extra flavor, and they'll probably add them some thickness as well. And what I may do actually is boil this up just a little bit more to thicken it. So it kind of holds a little bit better when I pipe it into the center of the mini cupcakes. Because I don't want them I want them to be like a little flavor bomb, almost like a jelly. But I don't want making these tiny cupcakes soggy. Next up is the coconut pecan filling. That's a mixture of sugar, evaporated milk, butter, one other thing. Oh, eggs, coconut, and pecans. So let's do that. So here's the mixture. I'm gonna cook this over medium heat for a wee while until it's boiling. Well, not boiling, but thickening and bubbling around the edges. Then gonna reduce it for 1 to 2 minutes before pulling it off the heat and adding in the yummy coconut and pecans. So here's the finished product with the pecans and the coconut in it. I did have a little deviation from the recipe in that I couldn't find sweetened desiccated coconut. It was just desiccated coconut. So hopefully with all the other sweetness of the frosting and the cake itself, it won't be missed. The last thing that I want to get ready before I start the batter is the candy bacon topping. I don't know if everybody else does all these little bits and bobs first, but I feel like they're so fiddly and you have to stand over them and you got molten sugar and things that I'd rather just get them out of the way. Plus they all need to cool before you can pipe them into stuff or put them on top. So I figure if I do them now, then they'll be ready to go by the time the wee muffins are cooled. Muffins? Cupcakes. For this next step, I'm mixing brown sugar with cinnamon and black pepper and cayenne, and I'm gonna dredge some unsmoked bacon rashers in it and then bake in the oven for 30 minutes until it gets all crispy and gooey and nice, hopefully. Okay, so I'm ready now to do the cupcake batter, and I've decided to use Mary Berry's recipe because really you can't go wrong. And what I love about it is, unlike the last cake I made, which was a bit fussier with separating egg whites and putting in meringue, this is just chuck everything into a bowl and beat it. So that works for me because I am supposed to be doing this for fun. I don't need to be stressed out. So yeah, it's going to be self-raising flour, sugar, butter, baking powder, vanilla extract, but I'm going to use bean paste, and some eggs, all whipped up or beaten up into a bowl, and then into the individual mini paper cups. Would help if I plugged it in. Oh, that's going everywhere. Alright, so I did a batch and a half of batter because I wasn't really sure how many of these mini cupcakes it would make, whether mini equals half a normal standard cupcake size or less, so I just wanted to be safe. But it's a nice batter, it's thick, but I'm not going to question Mary Berry because, you know, who am I to question her? And let me see if I can get a wee spoon. Not as vanilla-y as I would have expected. So actually, I think I'm going to chuck a little bit more of that bean paste in and just kick that flavor up a little bit more because I want the vanilla ones to be really vanilla, not just white cake. The next thing I'm going to do is divide the batter into 3, like I mentioned at the beginning. So I will put a third into a bowl to do the peppermint, a third for the spice, and a third just keeping it plain vanilla. You can see over here that I have started putting them in their little cases. This is just the plain vanilla bean one. But before I do the whole batch, I have taken a sample of each. The plain vanilla bean, the one that I added the peppermint essence to, and the one that I've added the spice cake spices to. And I'm gonna do a bake of each of those just to taste them. And then I'll know whether the flavors are right or if I need to add more before I do everything. So I'll be back in a second. Time for the taste test. I forgot which was which. I know which one's the plain vanilla bean one, but I forgot what order I put the other two in, so this should be a true taste test to see if I can tell the difference. Okay, so the vanilla bean one tastes fine, doesn't taste particularly vanilla beany, but it's nice.
I can't tell what that's supposed to be at all. And that one doesn't really taste like very much either. Not strong enough that I can differentiate peppermint from spice. So I'm gonna chuck some more spices and more peppermint in these before I bake them up, just to give them a bit more pop. Okay, so I got one batch out of the oven, the second batch in, the peppermint batch has gone in. What I did, and I didn't record it, was I then divided the peppermint batch in half and used my color dyes, the little paste that I have, to do half red and half green and attempt to swirl them in the little cupcake cases. A little bit tricky because there's not a lot of room to wiggle there, so it might just look like a muddy mess. Just washing my hands again because I'm obviously doing this for a socially distanced party. It's not just for us. And I'm gonna start, while these ones are cooking, trying to fill the vanilla bean cupcakes with the mulled jam. So this is the approach I'm using. I don't have a cupcake corer, and I thought about buying one, but my suspicion was that it would be too big for something this small anyway. So I do have this style peeler, and what I'm doing is I'm going in at an angle, just really gently into a circle all the way around, not going down to the bottom because I don't want it jammed to the bottom, and then pulling it out, and you can see there I've got a little hole to put some jam in. So I'm going to do that to, I don't know how many I have, 15 or so of these, and then I got to figure out how to get the jam in. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. So I told a fib. I do have a plan for how to get the jam and everything into the cupcakes. I just forgot that I made a plan. I can't be the only person who does that. So I bought this little thing. It has a name. Oh, it's called the cupcake filler. Imagine that. Which I forgot that I bought. I forgot that I bought. And it's got a really wide nozzle on it. And I happen to have a bunch of these piping bags from last year. I think I made Christmas cookies last year. So this is what I'm going to use. I'll have to just keep cleaning it out to put the different fillings in. But cut off the tip and it fits in there okay. And just as a wee peek, you can see the swirled versions of the peppermint cupcakes there. A little freakish looking, but hopefully the kids will like it. Kids like color, right? So I'm gonna get the jam in these ones and I'll let you see that in a wee sec. Alright, I'm really happy with that. That little thing worked a charm. I've got the mask on because I had to be up close to the food, and I thought just better safe than sorry with coronavirus and everything. But that little device is a keeper for sure. Okay, next step is I've hollowed out the red and white peppermint ones, and I'm gonna dice up or roughly chop up some of these mint arrows and put them into each little hole. And then I'm gonna core these guys, too hot to touch, can't show you. Core those guys and fill it with the pecan and coconut filling, same way I did with the mulberry or mulled wine jam. Okay, we're coming into the home stretch. I've got itty bitty cupcakes. The peppermint ones have been filled with the arrows. You already saw me do the mulled jam in the center of that one, and these are the spiced ones with the coconut pecan. That amazing little tip that I used for this, it was too narrow for that, so I just snipped the end of the plastic bag and squidged it out that way, and it worked fine. So The last two things I have to do are the cream cheese frosting, which are going to go on these two. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to do the marshmallowy frosting that looks hopefully like a Santa hat for this, which I may or may not video. So nearly there. For the cream cheese frosting, it is butter, cream cheese, vanilla, and icing sugar. Room temperature butter, refrigerator temperature cream cheese. All right, well, this is a bummer. I didn't think it would be possible to screw up frosting, but it did not go right. There's a lot of butter lumps in it. Can you see that? And this is after me taking a fork to it, trying to get those down. And it is very runny. This has been in the fridge overnight, trying to thicken it up. No joy. Okay, so I'm all done. And here they are, my little guys, my little Santa hat with the peppermint vanilla bean. And this one is the mulled jam one. I did a swirled icing on it. You can see that. And then that's the smoked spiced cake with candied bacon and the pecan coconut. So what have I learned? I learned that I bit off more than I can chew. I thought using one base would make it easy to do 3 different flavors cupcakes, but it was not. This has been probably a 24-hour project. I think I started at noon yesterday. So yeah, I learned that. I learned that you can't swap out the big bricks of baking cream cheese for the spreadable stuff when it comes to making frosting. That didn't work. What I did in the end was just did the cream cheese and the frosting, or the icing and the vanilla, and even then it was hard work and it's very thin. I have to keep keeping it in the fridge for it to basically keep any sort of structure to it. So all these cupcakes are in the fridge, which probably means that they're going to be hard and their flavors aren't going to really come through great when people eat them, but it was either that or go out and buy store-bought, and I felt like that was cheating. So I learned that. What else did I learn? I learned that I need practice piping, because that was really hard when I was doing the Santa hats. 1, I don't have enough tips. 2, you can see there, like, it just gets wibbly really easy. So I need practice. That's it. But hopefully they taste okay. We'll find out shortly. And yeah, so that's it. Mini cupcakes done. See you next time.